All right guys, I owe you a walk around video of the ZJ. It's been done for a couple months now. We've taken it to Moab, we've taken it to Windrock, and yeah, I've been getting asked a lot about what'd you do here, what'd you do there, and so now I'm gonna do a walk around video. I'm not in the shop like I typically am. As you can see, we're actually in a field next to my new house. We're still getting the garage set up there, so yeah, this is all we got for the time being, but it's nice out, so I figured we'd give it a whirl. But yeah, I've got some notes on my phone because there's a lot of stuff that I got to go over, and I'll try to cover it all, so here we go. Okay, so the first thing I've got in my notes is just, what is this? So if you haven't watched any of our videos on this channel, we built this totally on this channel. This is a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ. It's a 5.9 liter limited. Those only came in the 1998 year of the ZJ. They only made 14,000 of them. There's roughly, the numbers are a little skewed, but there's roughly like 5,000 to 6,000 in this color, which is dark slate. And yeah, so we managed to get one in Tennessee. It was being sold by a guy who wanted to get rid of it because it was actually his father's, and his father had passed away and he didn't want it anymore. So he knew of me. He saw my Comanche before this, obviously. And he said, are you gonna do the same thing you did to that truck to this? And I said, yeah, kind of not knowing if he was gonna be cool with that. And he's like, Dad would have really loved that. So I was super pumped that he was gonna be cool about what I was gonna do to it, and I was gonna chop it up and do all this stuff. So yeah, when we got it, it was in really good condition. I've got a video of that as well. There was almost no rust on it at all. And the Jeep was in great shape. Paint was good, it ran good. Didn't really have any problems, and it was a great starting point to get us started. So like I mentioned before this rig, we had a Jeep Comanche, and we loved that rig. It was kind of what started this channel. It's kind of what put us on the map and got us involved with all the brands that we're involved with now, and we love that rig. The only thing we didn't love about it is that it was small. You know, Comanches are single cab, so we couldn't take any of our friends off-roading, and we couldn't take any of our future children one day off-roading with us. So I knew that the Comanche wasn't a forever truck. It was just a really fun truck for that season. This, I think we're gonna be able to keep a little bit longer because it kind of suits the needs that we have. It's larger, can haul our friends and all that stuff. And then the plan was to build it very similar to the Comanche, but use what we learned from the Comanche to build it better. I think we achieved that. It's working really good, drives really good down the road, and it wheels really good. So those are the two things that I wanted it to be able to do. And yeah, it worked. So to start off, for tires and wheels, we elected to go with a brand that was familiar to us and a brand that was not familiar to us. We went with Milestar tires this time around. This is a 38 1350 R17. It's just the DOT tire. This isn't the black label one. And we love these tires. Full transparency, Milestar gave us these tires. However, I'm not going to tell you anything about them that I don't actually believe. I ran BF Goodrich before this, and I can't really tell a big difference between the two. This one does great in the snow. I've had it in the snow, I've had it in the mud. I drive it on the street. It's definitely quieter on the street, and I think they're about equal mud, snow, and dirt, honestly. So yeah, we really love these tires. And then we went with Method race wheels. We've ran Methods for pretty much every vehicle I've ever owned. So we had the bead grips on the Comanche, and now we've stepped up to an actual bead lock. This is the 105 V3 in gold, and then it's a 17x9 with a, hold on, I gotta look at my notes, with a negative 38 millimeter offset, which is what gives this vehicle a pretty good stance. And I know that negative offset is not great for scrub radius, but I don't care, because XJs, ZJs, all that stuff, if your wheels have a positive offset, you're going to rub your lower control arm. It's just gonna happen. So a little bit of a negative offset will help you out a lot on a ZJ. So for axles, we're running JT Rubicon axles. I actually picked these up off Facebook Marketplace. And I know what some of you are thinking, you should have just put 1 tons in it, and I disagree. I know that the biggest tire I'm ever gonna run is a 38. The ZJ isn't super heavy, and while it is a 5.9, it's not a powerhouse like an LS or something, so I'm not pushing crazy power. So it's actually gonna save me quite a bit of money down the road, because I didn't have to re-gear them. There's already a locker in them, an E-locker, which is great, and they're pretty strong for what they are. This one came with Terraflex ball joints in it already, and then I stepped up the axle shafts to RCVs just to give us a peace of mind when we're turned and bound up on a trailer or something like that. So I think this axle is going to serve us pretty great for a while. All the brackets on this are from Barnes 4-wheel drive. This is a JL to ZJ swap kit. It's just the brackets on the axle. There's no truss or anything like that. I wanted to keep it nice and simple, and that all just welded right on pretty easily. We had a video of us doing that as well. As far as steering goes, it's kind of a hodgepodge. This is a Rusty's tie rod. I got that because it was the cheapest one on the market. This is a tie rod that I built from parts at Barnes 4-wheel drive. So this is like a builder tie rod from, you know, parts that I scrounged together at work. And then we have Redneck Ram Hydro Assist. I like Redneck Ram because I get to use my factory steering box and my factory power steering pump. And fun fact, the steering box on this is actually the steering box from our Comanche. So a little piece of the Comanche is riding along with us on this. So that's pretty cool. And it turns these 38s very well. Like in the rocks with a locker on, we're turning these tires perfectly fine. One thing I actually do with the Redneck Ram stuff is I drill out the high pressure port on the steering box to the next size up just to give a little more flow. And that helps a lot when you're turning like really fast on the street and stuff. So that's a little pro tip for you there. So for suspension, I wanted to keep this Jeep as low as we physically could keep it without having to go full on crazy and do like custom inner fenders and all that stuff. So I wasn't gonna go crazy low and do a ton of fab work because it's just not worth it to me, but we did manage to keep it really low. In the first video of it sitting on its own weight, you'll see me say that it's sitting a little high. And we actually went through a couple sets of springs before we got the ride height we wanted. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Evan at Skyjacker because he probably sent me 3 different sets of springs for this thing because Skyjacker doesn't technically make a spring for a ZJ. So we were just kind of playing a guessing game. We ended up with a 6-inch TJ spring in the front and then a 2.5-inch TJ front spring in the rear. And I'd say it's probably sitting roughly at 6.5 inches of lift or so. I do have a little bit of a spacer up front just to lift the front a little bit. But yeah, I love the ride height of it. I love where it's sitting. I don't think it looks too tall, but it's still got usable up travel and down travel and everything. And then we're using Skyjacker ADX shocks, which have reservoirs on them. And this Jeep rides phenomenal. Like, it rides better than the Comanche did for sure. And then for links, we're doing Clayton Off-Road. So I bought their kit because it's the only kit that comes with a frame stiffener section in the center. And so it's got like a removable cross member, and then it's got brackets in the rear. So in the front, it's a radius arm, 4-link radius arm, whatever you want to call it. And then in the rear, it's an upper triangulated 4-link. So I don't have a track bar in the rear. I do have a track bar in the front. It drives really great down the road, and it flexes really great as well. People who tell you that radius arms don't flex well don't know what they're talking about. They definitely do. You just have to set them up correctly, and Clayton's is set up correctly. So this Jeep flexes amazing, has a ton of down travel, and it'll stuff all the way up into the fender as much as I want it to. So, and I also just have JKS sway bar disconnects on the front to keep things simple. They actually come with the Clayton kit. And then I have a Clayton drop pitman arm that came with the suspension, and then Clayton's track bar in the front, their track bar bracket as well. So I have a little category of just little custom stuff. There's some things you just don't know you're gonna have to do until you jump into a build like this. And I've got a couple of those. So the one thing, this Jeep has all new hard brake lines from the front to the rear. So the ones that were on it were kind of rusty. One of them was leaking. So I just went ahead and replaced all the front brake lines and all the rear brake lines, hard and soft. So all those are replaced. I had to get the hood resprayed when I got the Jeep. In an earlier video, the front of the hood, like right here, was just absolutely demolished by something. I don't know what, if it was rock chips or what it was, but the hood was resprayed. So I had to get that done. And then some people asked me what I did to the roof of this thing. The only thing I did was I took the factory roof rack off of it. And then I just put stainless hardware in the roof, in the little threaded holes in the roof. And that's all I did there. And then the last thing is the frame stiffeners on this thing. So I only used the front and a rear set of frame stiffeners. They're from Affordable Off-Road. And that's why I purchased them, was because they were very affordable. And they actually fit pretty much perfectly. So I have to give them a shout of props there is I didn't really modify those at all, and just welded those on. That's also in a very early video of me doing that. So those are just some little custom things that don't really fit into a category. Okay, so armor and exterior of the Jeep, I get a lot of questions on. This front bumper is from a company called Detail Fab Works. It's a guy who's actually a one-man show from what I know. I saw this, he actually came out with this around the same time that I purchased this Jeep, and I knew right away, I was like, that's the bumper I'm putting on the Jeep. It's really awesome. It's super clean, but still has, you know, some tubular work to it and fits a winch perfectly. I put these little light mounts on here for my KC Flex Era 4s. I love these lights. They're super bright. They have a amber back glow for when you just want a running light, but they're super bright and they bright up the trail. This is a Warn Xeon 10S, just kind of the new standard of winch. Honestly, it's the best winch money can buy. That's why I've got it. Came with their Fairlead, and then I have a Factor 55 Ultra hook on here as well, and that's kind of the front bumper area. I've winched off this bumper, I've beat the crap out of this bumper into rocks, and it's taken everything I've thrown at it. The rear bumper is stock for now. Detail Fab is actually coming out with a rear bumper for ZJ, so I'm kind of waiting on him to see what he's doing there. So the stock one is working for now. It's definitely got some scrapes and bumps and bruises from rocks, but it's holding on. I built 2x6 rock sliders for this thing, and that might be my least favorite thing I had to do to this Jeep. It was a terrible, painstaking process of grinding for hours and welding for hours, and I'm glad they're done. I'm glad I did it, but I'm never going to do it again. So those are on there on the sides to protect the rockers. The fenders are Notch Customs fender flares. I actually have an entire video where I installed these. I love these flares. I think they look the most factory, but they give you the wheel clearance that you need. The fronts are super easy to put on. The rears are definitely more involved. They require welding and some seam sealer and stuff like that, but buy once, cry once, just do the job right, and you're gonna have the nicest set of fenders that you can have. I also had these paint matched to match the factory paint, and I love them. I think they turned out great. I get a lot of questions about my headlights, and I'm gonna be honest, I cannot remember where I bought my headlights at. I think I got them from Extreme Terrain, but I can't find a receipt or an invoice or whatever. I think they're a smoked lens ZJ headlight, and I think I got them off Extreme Terrain. They're okay. They don't come with bulbs, so that kind of sucks. But they come with the lenses to replace all your turn signals and everything, so they look good. They just don't have a great functionality to them. And then, like I said, I got the Flex Era 4s on the front. The entire underside of this Jeep has KC Cyclones on it, and bang for the buck, that's the best rock light you can put on a Jeep. They're super easy to put on. The wiring harness that it comes with, plug and play, super easy to install. My wife actually installed those with me. She had never wired something before in her life, so if she can do it, you can do it. And yeah, those help light up the night when you're rock crawling at night and stuff like that. So drivetrain wise, this Jeep has a bone stock motor and transmission. The only thing that I've done to the motor is it has a long tube header exhaust. And for all you ZJ guys out there, it is the very vague, very mystery eBay long tube headers. They do not fit very well. They fit the block perfectly because I think they're technically made for the 5.2, and you have to modify them a good bit if you're going to put them on a 5.9. So beware. That was also one of my least favorite projects I had to do. Lots of cutting, lots of grinding, lots of welding, all that stuff. But it works great, and I love the exhaust note of this Jeep. It sounds really great going down the road. It sounds really great on a cold start. And I just like it. I don't really want to mess with it. So the 46RE transmission, it's a 4-speed transmission, 46RE that came in these. It did have to get rebuilt. It had a pretty bad leak, and I tried to fix that leak right before we went to Moab, and I broke something on the input shaft and had to get it fully rebuilt. So that really sucked. But before that, it was working perfectly other than the leak. So behind that is a NP231. Fun fact as well, that NP231 is also out of our old Comanche. So this thing has 2 separate parts in it that our old Comanche had from the factory, which I think is pretty cool. I rebuilt that transfer case with a Skyjacker SYE kit. It came with the speedo gear, the sensor stuff, all the stuff that was needed to do the conversion, and my speedometer works perfectly. All that stuff works perfectly, and it's super strong, so that's really great. And then coming off of the transfer case, we have Adams Drive Shafts. Adams Drive Shafts is a great company. They're out of Las Vegas. They make awesome drive shafts. They actually sent us their forged yokes for the transfer case and the axles. So their forged yokes are super strong. I've never seen one break. So those are 1350 drive shafts. We're super pumped about that. It gives us a lot of peace of mind when we're on the rocks. The only other thing underneath the engine bay that is different is this does have a upgraded stock replacement CSF radiator in it. The old radiator in this thing had some cracks in the plastic on the sides, and the fins were damaged and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna replace this thing before it becomes a problem. And this thing stays perfectly cool. It actually typically runs a little under 210. It can get up to 210 on a hot day if the AC is running and everything. But other than that, everything underneath is bone stock. Okay, the interior is also all stock pretty much. This interior was taken care of very well by the previous owner. He conditioned the seats all the time and just took really good care of it, cleaned it and everything. So I love the interior of this thing and I really don't want to change much about it. The only things that I have changed is this is from Mountain Vista Fab. It is a cup holder bracket. If you own a ZJ, you know how worthless these cup holders are. This is a must-have. If you buy a ZJ, don't even think about it, just buy it. Go ahead and buy it. It's 100% needed. If your wife is like mine and she likes her big Stanley cups, you're gonna have to have this to keep those things from falling over every single turn. The only other thing that I've changed in here is I did a touchscreen CarPlay radio. It's just off Amazon. It's definitely a cheapy little radio, but the CarPlay works pretty good and I have to have music when I'm driving around. So I did do that. I've got a little phone charger here, but other than that, it's pretty much bone stock. Probably my favorite part about this Jeep, just day to day driving home, is the sunroof. I use the sunroof every single day. I use it when I drive to work. I use it when I drive home from work. Me and my wife will hop up on the Blue Ridge Parkway, go on a drive, use the sunroof, and it really kind of changes how the Jeep feels, honestly. And this is a really weird thing to say I like about it, but I love the way the interior smells. And my wife can attest to that. When we bought this thing, we were like, wow, this thing smells like the 90s, and we really like that. And so anytime you get in it, you just get this like feeling of being kind of transported back in time. And it's just an awesome Jeep to drive and I really love it. So that's pretty much everything. I know I missed something, so if you are curious about it, throw it in the comments. I will try to answer it for you. This Jeep has been a labor of love. I built it probably from the time I tore it apart to the time I had it driving and pretty much done was about only 2 to 3 months, which is a lot for a dude doing it pretty much by himself and doing it after work. It turned out exactly how I had it in my head, which is probably the thing I'm most pumped about. Is I've been dreaming of doing a build of one of these for years, and it looks exactly how it was up here. So that's super cool, and I'm super pumped about that. Sometimes I walk out into the driveway and I look at it and I'm like, man, I can't believe that's my Jeep. So I feel very blessed to own it. I also can't stress enough how grateful we are to work with some of the brands that we're working with. From building this Jeep, like Skyjacker, Method, Milestar, KC, Clayton, Adams, all the people that have helped us out. You know, we're working with a really great group of people on this build. When we go to shows, we see all those people. They feel like friends that we haven't seen in a long time. We love hanging out with all the people behind these brands, and we're super blessed to be in that position in our life. So we really love it. And I think this Jeep is going to be around for a while. It's definitely not done. Nothing's ever really done. There's some little things that I definitely want to keep working on and that I'm going to have on the channel and stuff like that. And those will just be things that I'm just dialing it in to make it meet our needs a little better. So again, we covered this whole build on our YouTube channel, so go back and watch those videos. If you don't mind to comment on this video, like it, subscribe it, all that good stuff. If you want to see more of this Jeep, definitely keep an eye out on this channel and follow us on social media, because we post a lot of stuff on social media about what we're doing with this build that we also don't post on YouTube. So that's a good way to see more of it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.